Welcome to today's edition of Just the Truth. We have a lot to cover, so let's jump right in. Appreciate you joining me in the PhD Weight Loss and Nutrition Studio. To lose weight for the last time, visit myphdweightloss.com. Who's on first? In yet another court ruling, an appeals court reinstates the hold on Texas's immigration law following an earlier ruling by the U.S. Supreme Court this week in favor of the Texas law. Texas Governor Greg Abbott vows to keep fighting, and a Texas bus company has agreed to stop busing illegal immigrants to New York from Texas amid an ongoing lawsuit from New York City Mayor Eric Adams. Get those extension cords out. Are you ready to charge your electric vehicle? The Biden administration yesterday published a rule that they hope will drive a significant shift from gas-powered to electric vehicle sales, forcing you to purchase an electric vehicle, whether you want one or not. John Kennedy strikes yet again. The Louisiana Senator's latest victim, United States District Judge Nancy Maldonado. She's of the Northern District of Illinois. She struggled to respond when asked by Senator Kennedy to define the term assault weapons during her confirmation hearing. You're going to want to hear this one. And is the police mugshot a thing of the past? A Southern California police department is using a photoshopped Lego head, I can't say that with a straight face, as a way of protecting the suspects' identities for their social media posts due to a new state law. This and your comments on the Furman Ford text line, 864-477-JOEY, 864-477-5639. Hope you'll join the conversation on this edition of Just the Truth.
I told you we'd be back.
And ye shall know the truth, and the truth shall make you free.
It's Joey Hudson.
On our guest line this morning, Senator Tim Scott.
Thank you for listening to one of the best radio shows. Joey, God bless your leadership.
Joey, congratulations on your new show.
I just wanted to let you know that I always appreciate your perspective and your common sense approach to the issues.
You know what? If people like you keep telling us the truth, believe me, we're paying close attention.
Let your voice be heard.
And the truth shall set you free.
Here's Joey Hudson.
Texas Governor Greg Abbott says he believes his state still has the right to protect Texas citizens from illegals crossing his border, even after a federal court and several federal courts this week playing tug of war after the U.S. Supreme Court earlier in the week initially gave themselves an extension of time to rule on the latest legal maneuverings on whether or not Texas police officers can arrest illegals and send them back across the border. The Supreme Court the very next day issued a ruling in favor of Texas, only to be upended by another appeals court less than a day later. Governor Abbott says he believes that Texas has the right to defend itself and to protect its citizens.
Texas has the legal authority to arrest people coming across the razor wire barriers on our border, and we will continue to use our arrest authority and arrest people coming across the border illegally.
Governor Abbott, after learning that an appeals court has reinstated the hold on the Texas immigration law, again, hours after the Supreme Court ruling allowed the Lone Star State to enforce their law. So here's what happened this week. And again, it's been very confusing because you've had headline after headline talking about a different outcome. A federal appeals court issued an order that reinstates a hold blocking Texas from enforcing the law that enables local law enforcement to arrest suspected illegal immigrants. This decision came from a 3-judge panel of the 5th U.S. Circuit Court of Appeals. They voted 2-1 to overturn a previous ruling made by another panel of the same court that granted an administrative stay of the law's implementation. The prior Fifth Circuit ruling had temporarily halted an injunction from a federal district court judge in Austin who had blocked Texas from implementing their law. The Austin judge's rationale was that such a law might pave the way for other states to enact their own immigration legislation. which, hey, I think is a grand idea. I think states are going to have to stand up to the federal government and say, we're not doing this anymore. I don't understand, and look, it may come to this, why Texas doesn't just ignore the federal government and start making the arrest. So following this order, the Fifth Circuit will now hear arguments on whether to stay the preliminary injunction pending the appeal that the state has already exercised. The unsigned order by the court read, a majority of the panel has concluded that the administrative stay entered by a motions panel on March 2nd should be lifted. Circuit Judge Andrew Oldham dissented from the majority opinion, advocating for the law to remain enforceable. He wrote in his dissenting opinion, I would leave that stay in place pending tomorrow's oral argument on the question. This came hours, as we said, after the U.S. Supreme Court's conservative majority rejected an emergency request from the Biden administration to review the administrative stay ordered by the Fifth Circuit's prior panel. The Department of Justice argued that the law is a clear violation of the supremacy law of the Constitution, that states do not have the power to enforce immigration laws. The law, it argued, would cause chaos in immigration law, as if we don't already have chaos there anyway. In a win for Texas, the Supreme Court issued the order on Tuesday that effectively enabled the law, it's known again as SB 4, to be enforced while the lower courts deliberated on some of the lawsuits that the Biden administration and others have challenged the court. The Supreme Court did not provide any reasons for the decision in its order, as is typical in emergency appeals. The decision passed on to the Appeals Court, and they issued a ruling Tuesday evening. Justice Amy Coney Barrett and Justice Brett Kavanaugh filed concurring opinions. Justice Barrett wrote that the High Court has never reviewed the decision of a court of appeals to enter or not enter an administrative stay, she wrote. She added that an administrative stay is meant to be a short-lived prelude to the main event, which is a ruling on the motion for a stay pending appeal. Justice Barrett also offered her opinion that it was unwise to invite emergency litigation in this court about whether a court of appeals abused its discretion at this preliminary step. The Supreme Court's 3 Democrat-appointed justices, Kagan, Brown Jackson, and Sotomayor, raised concerns over the law in their dissenting opinions. Justice Sotomayor said the order invites further chaos and crisis in immigration enforcement. Again, I don't know how it can be more chaotic. Do you? She wrote that the law upends the federal-state balance of power that has existed for over a century, in which the national government has had exclusive authority over entry and removal of non-citizens. The problem with that, though, Justice, is in the past, the federal government has protected our borders. In the past, the federal government has not swung the door wide open and put the burden on states like Texas and Arizona to deal with it. That's the difference there, Justice. So in December, Texas Governor Abbott signed SB 4 into law after it was approved by the Republican-controlled state legislature. SB 4 allows local and state police to take into custody individuals who have entered the U.S. illegally from Mexico and imposes criminal penalties on them. The law also grants state judges the authority to order the deportation of illegal immigrants. On Tuesday, upon hearing of the legal proceedings here in the states, Mexico's government declared that it would not accept the return of illegal immigrants from Texas to its territory under any circumstances. Deportations of individuals who are not Mexican citizens are not required to be accepted by Mexico. So Mexico basically saying they're going to let them pass through, but they're not going to allow them back in. Now, what's wrong with that scenario? 864-477-5639. Your comments are welcome on the Furman Ford text line, as are your email messages, joey@joeyhudson.com. One final thing before we move on from the immigration issue. While you have all of the legal back and forth playing out, a Texas bus company has agreed to stop busing illegal immigrants from Texas to New York City because of an ongoing lawsuit from New York City Mayor Eric Adams. Bus company Roadrunner Charters agreed this week to stop transporting illegals, signing a stipulation letter. The letter said the defendant Roadrunner Charters will refrain forthwith from transporting individuals known as migrants from Texas to New York City and or from Texas to the vicinity of New York City. Now, the lawsuit brought by New York City Department of Social Services has argued that the 17 companies, including Roadrunner Charters, violated New York state law by not paying for the cost of caring for migrants. The lawsuit sought $708 million in damages. The lawsuit cites New York law that requires anyone who brings a needy person from out of state for the purposes of making them a public charge to either take them out of the state or support them. Again, how do they make this argument? So I guess that Mayor Adams thinks that Texas needs to bear the brunt of this. They're openly a sanctuary city, very proud of the fact that they're a sanctuary city. But yet they don't want these mom and pop bus companies, that they're suing them for millions of dollars because, and most of these bus companies are mom and pop type businesses that may own 2 or 3 or 5 or 6 buses, and they are contracting with the state to transport these illegals from Texas to New York City to Chicago and other cities. And Mayor Adams is saying, no, you can't do that. So we're going to sue you for millions of dollars. Of course, they're going to try to protect their family business. In a statement, Mayor Adams said that he is pleased that Roadrunner Inc. has agreed to stop busing migrants to the Big Apple in an attempt to overwhelm our shelter system. Adams first filed the lawsuit back in January, calling the busing of illegals a reckless political ploy. He said New York City has and always will do our part to manage this humanitarian crisis, but we cannot bear the cost of reckless political ploys from the state of Texas alone. Today, we're taking legal action against 17 companies that have taken part in Texas Governor Abbott's scheme to transport tens of thousands of illegals to New York City in an attempt to overwhelm our social services system. He went on to say Governor Abbott's continued use of migrants as political pawns is not only chaotic and inhumane, but makes clear he puts politics over people. Today's lawsuit should serve as a warning to all those who break the law in this way. And Adams, along with the entire New York City legal team, have begun suing these companies. I ask again, what is Governor Abbott and Texas supposed to do? Adams and his colleagues, they're the ones who decided New York City would be a sanctuary city. Texas has been very clear. They do not want, nor can they support, the flood of illegals. So where are these people supposed to go? It's a legitimate question. Governor Abbott had a group of sheriffs in his office this week, and upon learning of the latest court action, he told these sheriffs that he will continue to fight for the safety of Texas.
We will keep fighting regardless of what happens in the court, because we all have a collective responsibility, and that's to maintain the safety and security of our residents and our state and our sovereignty.
Governor Greg Abbott in Texas, again speaking to a group of sheriffs who were in Texas visiting on the immigration issue. Get those extension cords out and be ready to charge your electric vehicle. The Biden administration yesterday published a rule that they hope will drive a significant shift from gas-powered to electric vehicle sales in the next decade. Are you ready to lose that excess weight? Do you want to get healthy? Was that one of your New Year's resolutions in 2024, that you were going to lose the weight and get healthy? Well, now's the time to start if you haven't already. Call 864-252-4925. If you do that today and you start the PhD Weight Loss and Nutrition Program before summer, you can lose 10, 20, maybe even 30 pounds and fit in that swimsuit even better. I'll tell you, I do not regret for 1 minute when I made that call almost 4 years ago now. When I was introduced to Dr. Ashley Lucas and her team in the Greenville office of PhD Weight Loss and Nutrition. If you're listening today and you've been considering this and you're still on the fence, I have one thing to say. PhD works. It just really works. It works for life, and you need to make that call. If you've been considering the program and you haven't made the call, let me encourage you to call, set up your consultation so that you and your nutritionist can decide when the best time to start will be. 864-252-4925. You can also find out information and get in touch with them through their website at myphdweightloss.com. I lost 30 pounds almost 4 years ago now. I've been able to maintain that weight for all of this time, and that's the good thing about PhD Weight Loss and Nutrition. It's not a fad diet. It's not even a diet, really. It's a lifestyle change. They're going to teach you about your relationship with food, what to eat, when to eat, and how to eat. I promise you, you're not going to regret making that call. Call today, 864-252-4925, online, myphdweightloss.com. PhD Weight Loss and Nutrition, the official partner of the Clemson Tigers. Joe Biden wants you driving an electric vehicle whether you want to or not. We know this was coming. Joe Biden from day one has said that he wants you driving an electric vehicle. Now he's just going to make it tougher for you to be able to afford a gas-powered vehicle in the next decade. For consumers, this is expected to mean more available and affordable EVs. Now, we talked about this just this past week, how China is already setting up manufacturing plants in Mexico to flood the American market with inexpensive electric vehicles. Some analysts say that this, and not necessarily the Chinese cars, but the fact that the Biden administration, this new rule is going to make it so tough for gasoline-powered vehicles to compete that we're going to be forced to purchase an electric vehicle. Sam Abulsmod, the principal research analyst for mobility at market intelligence firm Guidehouse Insights, said purely gas-powered vehicles will get more expensive. The new rule will make it more difficult for gas-powered cars to keep up with the Environmental Protection Agency standards, which will ratchet up over time, and they'll need more advanced technology that will drive those prices higher. At the same time, he said, the increased production and availability of EVs will bring their average cost down. And this is what Biden and his administration wants to do. Other analysts somewhat disagree, saying that EV charging infrastructure analyst with Wood Mackenzie said that he doesn't expect prices to rise for gas-powered cars because the technology is already here. They've been making them for years now. He said we're already a mass market with internal combustion engines, so whatever we see in the future is that prices for EVs will come below gas cars, but we will not expect prices of gas cars to go above where they are today. They're too expensive today. The Biden administration said the rule issue could result in just 29% of the new car market remaining gas-powered by 2032. Think about that. 2032. That's just around the corner. In the administration's lowest cost scenario, it estimated that by that year, 56% of vehicles would be battery electric, 13% would be plug-in hybrids, and 3% would be other hybrids. Now, here's what you need to understand, and this is what Biden's going to be campaigning on. The rule does not explicitly mandate a shift towards electric vehicles or any other specific vehicle type. Instead, it sets pollution standards for an automaker's vehicle fleet that would be so difficult to achieve without increasing the share of electric or other low-carbon vehicles. So basically, he's not saying, I'm going to make you buy an electric vehicle. He's just going to make it to where you can't afford anything but an electric vehicle if he has his way. Chris Hardo is a senior policy analyst for transportation and energy at Consumer Reports. He noted that since the rule is not a mandate, automakers will have at least some wiggle room to find the mix of technologies that best matches up with consumer demand. We already know that some of these manufacturers are having second thoughts on EVs to begin with. Hardo said that there is flexibility if battery electric vehicle sales lag for some reason to deploy more hybrids or plug-in hybrids or alternative technologies. He said there's a lot of room to let the market decide within the structure of these rules and for different automakers to take different strategies. Look, Biden and his administration needs to stay out of the car business and let Detroit and let the car business, BMW here in the upstate, let them decide what their customers want. Let the market truly decide what types of vehicles are manufactured. Of course, the rule received praise from some of the major lobbying groups for electric vehicles in the auto industry. A written statement from John Bozella, president and CEO of Alliance for Automotive Innovation, said these adjusted EV targets, still a stretch goal, should give the market and supply chains a chance to catch up. It buys some time for more public charging to come online. And see, that's the other problem. They don't even talk about, Biden doesn't even consider the infrastructure that's going to be needed to support. Let's say we all go out and buy an EV tomorrow. The infrastructure is not there to support us wanting to charge those vehicles as we drive to town or as we go on the family vacation. And the big one, the rules are mindful of the importance of choice to drivers and preserve their ability to choose the vehicle that's right for them, and that's what the market should do. We should be able to decide. So what they're going to try to do is make it impossible for Ford to manufacture their gas-powered F-150, the most popular pickup truck around. It's going to be so expensive for them to manufacture that the end product's not going to be affordable to the average consumer. But it just so happens that an electric version might be available at a more affordable price. So which are you going to choose? And what we have here is the government finessing the market. 864-477-5639. What would you do? Let's say that 5 years from now, you're ready to replace that F-150 you have right now. And you go to Furman Ford. Because, look, you know, Furman Ford, I love Furman Ford. They're locally owned and operated. When you go to Furman Ford, you're going to have a chance to speak with one of the Furman family members, Jim Furman, Matthew Furman. But they're as a Ford dealer, they're only going to have available what Ford makes available to them. So let's say that you go to Furman Ford and you want your typical F-150 that you use on your job, and the gasoline-powered one costs you $30,000 more than an electric one. Which are you going to choose? Are you fundamentally going to stick with the gas-powered one, but pay $30,000-$40,000 more for it? It's going to be hard not to, isn't it? Love to get your comments. 864-477-5639. While I'm talking about Furman Ford, if you're looking for a new vehicle, they're the place to go. Located in Lawrence or online at FurmanFord.com. They have a great selection of pre-owned vehicles that you can trust. They have the best inventory of new vehicles I've seen in a while. I was down there just a couple of weeks ago visiting with Jim and Matthew Furman. And when you purchase your vehicle there and you drive off of the lot, you know that your money is staying right here in the upstate community because they're locally owned, family operated. Those are the types of businesses we need to support. Visit my friends at Furman Ford in Lawrence. Find them online at FurmanFord.com, FurmanFord.com. Don't you just love Senator John Kennedy? He strikes again. The Louisiana Senator's latest victim, United States District Judge Nancy Maldonado. She's from the Northern District of Illinois, and she struggled to respond when Senator Kennedy asked her to define the term assault weapons during her confirmation hearing. Judge Maldonado struggled with what the definition of assault weapon is now this is the lady who Joe Biden has nominated for a seat on the United States Court of Appeals for the Seventh Circuit. She signed a brief defending a ban on, quote, assault weapons that was challenged in Illinois state courts in the 2010s. According to vettingproject.org, Kennedy cited this and cited her writings when asking her if she could define what an assault weapon was. Kennedy said, "You said assault weapons may be banned because they're extraordinarily dangerous and are not appropriate for legitimate self-defense purposes. Tell me what you meant by assault weapons." Here's the exchange.
You said, quote, assault weapons may be banned because they're extraordinarily dangerous and are not appropriate for legitimate self-defense purposes, close quote. Tell me what you meant by assault weapons.
Thank you, Senator Kennedy. Just to clarify there, I was local counsel. Our Supreme...
Yeah, but you wrote the brief. Tell me what you meant by assault weapons.
Senator Kennedy, actually, I did not write the brief. The brief was written by...
You signed the brief, though, didn't you?
Correct. I signed the brief.
When you sign a brief, you're testifying to the court that everything in it is true, right?
Yes.
Okay. So they're your words in terms of the court, right?
Well, you're correct, Senator Kennedy.
Okay.
I would never
Tell
sign...
me what you meant by assault weapons.
So I am not a gun expert, and at the time, that brief, I think, was about 10 years...
But you were giving the court advice about, say, ban assault weapons. What is... You told the court you were an expert. Just tell me what you wanted to ban.
Senator, sitting here today, as I said, I did not write that brief. I was local counsel.
Sign the brief.
I understand. At the time...
Tell me what you wanted to ban. That's all I want to know, Judge.
I don't remember the exact definition of assault weapons in the ordinance that was at issue.
So you submitted a brief to an appellate brief. You signed it, and you don't know what. And you said abolish assault weapons, and you don't know what you wanted them to abolish.
Senator, at the time that I signed the brief, I read the brief because our Supreme Court required an Illinois bar member to sign the brief. I was not responsible for researching the content.
You were responsible for the brief.
Absolutely. And sitting here today, I do not remember the characteristics of that were cited in the ordinance for the assault weapons ban. It's not an area of practice that I have specialized in. I'm sure 10 years ago I could have answered your question.
And
but
Judge,
sitting here today,
you think you deserve to be promoted? With this record?
Senator, I stand by my record. I stand by my record.
I stand by my record. He asked a valid question, didn't he? Does she deserve to be promoted? When are these judges going to catch on to the fact that John Kennedy's going to ask them a gotcha question? If they're smart enough to be promoted to a higher court, then they should be smart enough to be prepared for their confirmation hearings, right? How many times has John Kennedy done this? How many times has John Kennedy asked what should be a basic question of a person who has reached this level in the legal community? And in this case, she had signed the opinion. But yet, and look, in her defense, that's very common. A judge typically does not write the orders themselves. Someone on their staff, a law student, a clerk, someone typically writes the order, and the presiding judge, signs the order. So she that's fair. But still, like Senator Kennedy pointed out, when you sign that order, you're saying this is the order that I am granting from this court. You should know what you're signing. You should understand the law or the ruling that you have just agreed with. She obviously did not. She didn't have a clue of what an assault weapon is. 864-477-JOEY, 864-477-5639. Your comments are welcome on the Furman Ford text line. You can leave a voice message, emails joey@joeyhudson.com. On the Furman Ford text line today, Christy says, I don't really trust this Supreme Court. I feel like they're playing the game just like all the swampers. Play both sides and everyone might like you. It's coming to the end months of this administration, so things will appear to change as to fool the voters yet again. I hope that people have figured out what crooks they elected last time. I want to laugh, but it's not funny, is it? Our great nation is in misery due to ignorance and lies and the people who spew and believe those lies. Also, she says, listening to your vote story brings that old quote, vote early and vote often. Liberal Playbook's first page, the more the merrier. Voter ID nationwide is a start, no mail-in voting, absentee ballots to military out of the country, and maybe those elderly or handicapped that can't make it to the polls. Appreciate your comment there, Christy. Faye writes, Joey, it appears these insane at the top of our food chain are bent, bound, and determined to take us back over 100 years. No cars, no continuous electricity, little food, and no medical access. I find it hard to swallow that we should sit on our laurels and let this happen. How can anybody with half a brain not see what is happening to our country? How does Biden have control over so many? These must be as brain paralyzed as he is. Wish we could vote now, as each month that goes by, these insane destroy more of our country. Jennifer writes, hey, Joey, the RNC is finally taking a stand on voter integrity before the 2024 election. 2 retired generals are finally going public about Biden's screw-up in Afghanistan. FBI Director Wray is finally telling Americans that they are in danger from criminal illegals pouring across the border, and the Supreme Court is standing up for the Texas protecting themselves because the U.S. government won't enforce the law. That one changed a bit there, Jennifer, as it's changing daily. Jennifer says, hello, America. We hope you're coming back to stay. Susan writes on the Furman Ford text line, when Brian Kemp was Georgia's Secretary of State, he cleaned up our voter rolls, and Stacey Abrams accused him of disenfranchising people. I wonder how many dead people he disenfranchised. And Ginger says, hi, Joey. I sent you an email last week about In God We Trust on law enforcement vehicles and the young man who does this, referring to your seeing this in Transylvania County. And yes, this was something I talked about a couple of weeks back. When I was up on Super Tuesday, I was in western North Carolina and noticed that the Transylvania County Sheriff's Deputy cars have In God We Trust on the back of them. And Ginger sent me an email, and I'm sorry I missed your first one, Ginger, if you're listening today, but I did get your second email there. And I'm going to reach out to this young man because Ginger knows the young man who does this, who actually wraps the law enforcement vehicles in western North Carolina, and this is part of his business. And I'm going to reach out to him. I want to talk to this young man because I just love the idea that these sheriff's deputies have on the back of their car, In God We Trust. Now, of course, the sheriff has to support this. But what if we start a movement? What if we start calling on our sheriffs? I'll bet Hobart Lewis would do it in Greenville. I bet Chuck Wright would do it in Spartanburg. I bet Mike Crenshaw would do it in Oconee. Some of these counties may already do it. I just haven't noticed it. I don't think we have that on cars in Greenville. But wouldn't that be great? Let's start calling our sheriffs and asking them to put In God We Trust on the back of their vehicles. What do you think about that? 864-477-5639 is the Furman Ford text line. Albert writes, you have to look this up. Below is just a snapshot. U.S. District Judge Northern Illinois Sharon Coleman, who was appointed by Obama, has ruled that illegal migrants have the right to own firearms. These leftist judges take U.S. citizens' rights to own firearms away while ruling to arm illegals. Albert, I am going to look that one up. I have not seen that decision, but look, there's a lot of court decisions I haven't seen. It's very disturbing if that's the truth. Phil says, Joey, your podcasts are getting shorter. What's up with that? Now, Phil, you are paying close attention. Yesterday was a little shorter. I responded to Phil saying that actually today's episode is 107 of Just the Truth. And they average 30 to 50, 55 minutes. The experts say that that's the ideal length. But I'd love to hear from you, as Phil has noted here. What is the ideal length of a podcast? What would you like to hear? What's your ideal length? Is it 30 minutes, 40 minutes, 50 minutes? I try to hit all the top news articles, news topics of the day, and be considerate of your time as well. Phil, I appreciate you listening. Appreciate the question, and you can get your stopwatch out there, Phil. Our text of encouragement today. Joel writes, "Remember that guy that gave up? Neither does no one else." God bless. Thank you, Joel. Appreciate that. 864-477-5639 is where you can send your text message to the Furman Ford text line. This next headline is one that I'm not believing that I'm reading. Police in a Southern California police department are using photoshopped Lego heads as a way of protecting suspects that they arrest identity for their social media posts due to a new state law. So I guess if I'm understanding this story, they can't post mugshots anymore. So what are they doing? They're putting Lego heads on these people as they are arrested. More on that in just a minute. Let me talk with you for a minute about Discounted Appliance Warehouse. Do you need a new washer and dryer? Discounted Appliance Warehouse are proud to offer Speed Queen, the only washer and dryers with up to a 7-year warranty on parts and labor. You can count on these. These are the types of washer and dryers that you find in these commercial businesses. You need a new refrigerator, stove, dishwasher, maybe a microwave, and you're tired of buying appliances from inexperienced salespeople at some of the big box stores who the only thing they know is that the appliances are on aisle 39? Well, appliances are expensive, and it's kind of tough sometimes to figure out which one's right for you, isn't it? Because there's so many different options now. That's why I recommend that you shop at Discounted Appliance Warehouse in Pickens. They have an A+ Better Business Bureau rating, nearly perfect reviews on Google, and the team at Discounted Appliance Warehouse, they have the knowledge that you need to have confidence that you make the right purchase for you and your family. They'll show you around their warehouse. They have, at any given time, 1,500 or so appliances ready for you to buy today and use today. Discounted Appliance Warehouse. It's worth a short drive in Pickens. Find them online at dawpickens.com, dawpickens.com. Here's the story. And again, I can't believe that I'm reading this headline. The Murrieta Police Department, this is in Southern California, they feature several Facebook and Instagram posts of suspects with Lego heads photoshopped. The post shows suspects in images at various scenes where their arrest occurred. The police department's social media team photoshopped Lego blocks with a variety of facial expressions instead of their faces. Not only are they putting Lego heads on these people, but they're putting different expressions on those Lego heads. One image posted to the department's Instagram account shows a suspect kneeling during what appears to be an arrest. The Lego blockhead photoshopped onto the man has a shocked facial expression while looking at the person standing in front of him. Last week, officers participated in a game of hide and seek in the area of Madison Avenue and Murrieta Hot Springs Road. Fortunately for the officers, they were able to use GPS to locate the suspect, the post states. Ultimately, the suspect was arrested and booked into the birdhouse for grand theft, possession of stolen property, and unlawfully possessing pepper spray due to him being a convicted felon. I guess convicted felons can't have pepper spray, huh? Another image showed two suspects in the back of a police vehicle after they were handcuffed by authorities. One of the men is given a Lego head with an angry facial expression. The other has a sad facial expression as a teardrop on one side of the Lego face. Only in California could this happen. The Post stated recently officers were dispatched to a report of a shoplifting which had occurred in the area of Madison Avenue and Murrieta Hot Springs Road. That's the same area there. Madison Avenue is a happening place. Officers were flagged down and told 2 males had each stolen a shopping cart full of items and left the store without paying. A record check of the 2 males revealed they were both on probation for weapons charges and, you guessed it, theft. A search of the vehicle resulted in all the stolen items from the store: narcotics, paraphernalia, burglary tools, and methamphetamine. Both males were arrested and booked into the birdhouse for a variety of charges. Again, this social media post had these 2 males with Lego heads photoshopped. The police department recently posted a lineup of suspects with Lego heads also, explaining why the department's social media needed to protect the identities of those arrested. So you can't have a regular mugshot anymore in California, I guess. How crazy is that? This new law, Assembly Bill 994 and Penal Code 13665, went into effect January the 1st, prohibiting law enforcement from sharing suspect photos for nonviolent crimes unless specified circumstances exist. In addition to no longer allowing the photos, California regulations will require police agencies to remove all suspects' mugshots from social media after 14 days unless it's for a special circumstance. The MPD stated the Murrieta Police Department prides itself in its transparency with the community, but also honors everyone's rights and protections as afforded by law, even suspects. In order to share what is happening in Murrieta, we chose to cover the faces of suspects to protect their identity while still aligning with the new law. Now, some of you probably know my long association with Crime Stoppers. My old friend Tony Lee, who very deservedly retired this past year after like 35 years with the Greenville County Sheriff's Office. And he was our Crime Stoppers coordinator for probably 30 years. And that's the whole premise of Crime Stoppers. We publish mugshots of most wanted people. Tony would have a stroke if he were told he had to post a mugshot of a most wanted person with a Lego head on. I mean, how much crazier can states like California get? They're so concerned about protecting the privacy of someone who has been arrested. I mean, how long have mugshots been around? And you know these little publications that you can buy at the convenience store, they cost like $1, and all it is mugshots. I mean, it just pages and pages of mugshots. Soon they're either going to go out of business or they're just going to have pages and pages of Lego head mugshots. Only in California. Only in and Tony, if you're listening, aren't you glad you're retired now? Hopefully this will never come to South Carolina. But I can't believe it's happening anywhere. Again, even in California. 864-477-JOEY, 864-477-5639. Keep your comments coming via the Furman Ford text line. Hey, leave me a quick voice message. I love your voice messages. Emails still welcome, joey@joeyhudson.com. That's it for today's edition of Just the Truth. Phil, where are we time-wise? I love getting your note there, Phil. Thanks for joining me in the PhD Weight Loss and Nutrition Studio. To lose weight for the last time, visit myphdweightloss.com. If you haven't joined our mailing list yet, what are you waiting for? Visit my website. Do it right now, joeyhudson.com. Click on the Connect with Joey button so that you can receive our emails. Find me on YouTube as well. Just search for Joey Hudson. We're going to continue to add stuff to YouTube, so you don't want to miss out on that. Appreciate you spending a few minutes of your day with me. I recognize that you do have choices, and I'm glad that you have chose to be part of the Just the Truth community. Let me ask you to do this one thing for me today, will you? Forward today's edition to a friend or family member. That's how we grow our Just the Truth family. Is if you will forward this, just stop what you're doing as soon as listen to the rest of this. Don't cut me off yet. But all you have to do is just hit the share button and text it or email it and ask a friend or a family member or a church friend to join our community. This is how we build the community, and this is how we have influence in November. 864-477-JOEY. Send me a quick text message and let me know that you have sent it to 2 people, 5 people, 10 people, whatever. Send it to your whole contact list. We're back again tomorrow. I hope you will be with us as well. Until then, remember, folks, God's got this. He's still in control.